Hi, my name is Chris, and I have Saturn in my 10th house, and this is my story. So my father, he's now the managing director of Samsung here in this region. But he was somebody that worked really, really hard to get there. He started off just sort of being a typical staff at Samsung, just sort of, photocopying documents, getting coffee, doing all those basic things. And he faced a lot of setbacks in his career. He could have gotten this position, 10 years earlier, but due to the fact that there were other sort of people who did things sort of under the table, it sort of slowed his progress to reaching where he was. So it did take him about almost 20 years to get where he is today. And a lot of the times I could feel that he was really under a lot of stress to kind of get to where he is, and with all those other people, getting in, trying to bring him down. But he always had integrity. He wasn't somebody who was going to, even for 1 minute, do anything under the table, do anything that was sort of mischievous in any ways, to try to skip steps. He wouldn't do to get where he is. Like, he wouldn't do any of those things. Although I really, really appreciated, I really looked up to him for that. And in a way, he is sort of like my role model with respects to how hard I should work, or my integrity at work. But he was also somebody that sort of gave me tough love, shall we say. We had sort of I would even say like somewhat professional relationship with each other. Compliments, or saying how much he loved me, or celebrating my successes throughout my childhood and my teenage years. That was something that wasn't really there. It was like, he sort of instilled in me this idea that you were born here to just work. There's no need to get anything, any kind of compliments or rewards for your accomplishments or your successes, because that's what you're here to do in this world. You're here to succeed. So that's just a mandatory thing. Why do you need to get any rewards for that? I somehow felt that the message I got when I was younger was that my worth was equal to how much recognition I got in the world and what kind of social status I had in the world. And I think a lot of why my father was this way was because of his own father, so because of my grandfather. See, my father had younger siblings. He had 3 brothers, and my grandfather at that time while they were growing up, he didn't have sufficient funds to send all of his sons and daughters to Ivy League schools. So he would say to my dad that my dad had to, being the eldest in the family, should play the role of sacrificing his education for his siblings. So his younger siblings went to Ivy League schools, while he sort of just went to a local community college. And so in a way, my dad took that as a message that there's no need to be rewarded for how much you succeed, because you're just supposed to do it anyways. Growing up in this family, we didn't have a lot of celebrations. I mean, nothing big for birthdays or anything, and we don't really eat together at the dinner table. We would only do it when guests are coming over and things like that, and we didn't really take holidays together. very much because my dad's usually pretty tired on the weekends and he'd prefer to just have his own space, and well, he was just working a lot of the time. Sometimes he even worked on the weekends. So that's kind of the family dynamic there. When I was in high school, you know, I was a good student, of course, because of all these values that was instilled within the family. Of course, I studied really hard, and I remember one term I basically had A's for all of my subjects except for physical education, so PE classes I got a B. I didn't think it was that important. And of course my parents were like, that's fine that you got a B for physical education. But then there was another term where I had A's for all of my classes except math. I think I had a B minus for math. And my parents were not happy with that. They thought that I should have gotten straight A's, and if I were to get a B, then it should be something that was more of an unimportant subject, because math is considered important in the society, and they were very much instilled in the values of society. And I would kind of wonder, like, because I had this friend, and she would, once she got, like straight A's, but then she sort of had like 1B, not even one, maybe she had like 6 of her subjects were straight A's or something like that. Her parents would sort of, take her out to celebrate her achievements and saying that she did such a great job with getting the grades that she got. But I don't know, I just felt like I'm under this pressure to be so good at school, and I put myself under a lot of pressure, but why is there never any appreciation or any rewards, So it was kind of like the more that I didn't get the approval or the appreciation throughout my life, the more I would push and push to get it, and I would do all sorts of things with regards to my career that was out of this need to prove something. In university, I studied management for my bachelor's, and then I got an MBA as well. And after that, I applied to work in Samsung, because I think it would look good for the family if I had this similar job as my dad. It would be kind of like I'm taking over, the family sort of legacy. So it looked good for, the image of the family. And I think in a way it also made my parents feel that I was at least successful, or at least achieving something. Because I don't know if I ever achieved anything when I was in school, and they never, gave me a pat on the, they never, celebrated my achievements. So I did this. I didn't know at that point, but now I know it, that I had done it because I was still pushing to see if this would be the thing. This would be my one and only thing, or the sort of the highest thing that I could do to finally get their appreciation. I think that there was also a part of me that I was really terrified of failure, and so this was the one thing, joining this company that my dad was also doing, this was the one thing that was going to make sure to the whole world, guarantee to the world, that I'm definitely not a failure if I could get into this company. I felt that, I must do something great and I really can't fail. When I was 25, I got promoted to the project manager. So I think that was a really, really big break for me. 25 and project manager already. So I was doing pretty well, I think. you know, but when I got promoted to this job, there was just something inside of me that wasn't as happy as I could be. It was more of like, although I was going to get this job, I was still going to have to work hard to maintain the job, and I was still going to have to be somebody every day when I went to work. That person that I was being, I think a deep part of me knew that it wasn't myself. It was a created image that I wanted to have to seem more successful. But I was getting it. For another year, while being the project manager, I was feeling this sense of emptiness and meaninglessness every day that I went to work, but I sort of didn't do anything about it because I thought that that's what I should continue to do. I should, you know, they had given me this big promotion, this position, and I should just keep doing it. Until I turned 27 and I got another promotion. This time the company had promoted me to be the department manager. But I turned it down because the more that the higher I was climbing, the more I felt I couldn't climb, the more resistance I felt. It was so strange. It was like the more achievement I got, the more I began to know that it wasn't my path or my calling. So I turned it down and I left the company, and you should have seen the look on my dad's face and my mom's face and the face of everyone in my family. The way they looked at me was this mix of confusion, yet mocking me, like judging me that I was a failure. I knew that I had a lot going for me. I mean, isn't that what anybody in the world would have wanted? You know, I was living in a pretty decent apartment. I was making a good income every month. I was in a position where I could manage other people. I was a leader. You know, I was at the top of my game, and I was only 27. And yet, I felt that I had strayed so far into the path that everyone had wanted me to go through, yet it was further away from the path that I wanted to go through, or that I was born here to walk through. When I was 28, I was, because I had left this job and I had nowhere to live, I was sort of living with my friend, and I was just a total mess. I was partying every night, I was drinking, I was doing a little bit of drugs, and mainly marijuana, because it just made you sort of lose yourself a little bit, and I think I need a little bit of that just to go a little bit crazy, if you know what I mean. So I was doing that for a while. I wasn't proud of that stage in my life, but I mean, I felt like I was on this train, and the train was going on this track, and you know, the engine just keeps going and going and going, and I kept going and going and going, and I felt like the train just never stopped. Like it just went on and on and on, and it was exhausting. And could I just please have like 1 year where the train could maybe just go on another path just for a little bit, or just stopped for a little bit. That's all I needed. I just needed time. Just time to figure things out. And everybody around me was looking at me, like my family mainly was just looking at me like what are you doing? Like it was like this was the end of the world. I was just living on my savings, partying, and just being all lazy and stuff for a while, and I was thinking to myself every day, what was I going to do with my life now? I I deeply felt like a failure. I had failed. At that point, the one thing I wanted to do was to make sure that I never failed. And there I was. A disgrace to my family. A disgrace to the society. Nobody. I was a nobody. When I was 29, that friend that I was staying with, she's a really great friend, so I really do, thank her a lot for that. She, just one day, she likes to go around and she goes to workshops and classes and things just because she liked it. So one day she asked me if I wanted to join her in one of this candle making class or a workshop. So I said, why not? Nothing to do with my life at that point. So I liked it so much, so badly. I mean, who would have thought that I would have a passion for candle making? But I don't know. I mean, I never tried it, so I never knew. So we decided, the two of us, that we were gonna start a business together. It was sort of gonna be this, innovative candle making business. Because she was also a little bit passionate about it as well. So we started that when I was 29, but even though we were doing it, businesses don't just become successful within a day. They take time. But I think at that point I was learning about this. So I was still having lots of fears of failure inside of me. I was still doubting myself every day and whether this was going to work out or not, because now I was completely in control of my own life. I had torn down all the structures that I had built, structures that were not built based on solid foundation. And I was trying to build everything from the ground up. It's like building a house all by yourself. It's hard. It's hard, and I was so scared that I was gonna fail again. So I sort of went to see a therapist. So I was like watching a lot of videos, and they say that therapy is good for you, so I decided to do that. And I was seeing her a couple of times, and the therapist told me that I should sort of consider about what had happened between me and my dad when we were younger. She said that I had father issues, and I needed to shift my mindset, and this was the right time to do it. She was saying that I shouldn't live my life trying to prove something to my dad. And I hadn't realized it, but I had been doing that. And now I'm no longer trying to prove to my dad, with this business that I've started with my friend, because that's something that nobody could have seen it coming, and it's not for the image of the family, and it's not following my dad's legacy. But it was true to me, and it still required hard work and integrity and a whole structural rebuild of life, of my own life. She had taught me, this therapist has taught me, that my passion should come first, and then the building process, and then the success. Not the other way around. I think I might have had it on backwards for a large part of my life. When I was 30, the business was still not doing very well. It had been a year. But, we had been working on this every day. Me and my friends, like every day, like 11 hours a day, we were working. 12 hours a day, we were working. And every day, 7 days a week, it was just all business. And it was hard to not beat myself up over it. I didn't know how long it was going to take for things to become stable in the business. the outcome or the consequences was no longer predictable like it used to be in the past. And that's scary. And every day I would sort of, when I'm alone, just beat myself up over how of how other people were just so successful at this age in their life, yet here I am starting my career over again. What a failure I am, and I'm so slow at things, and it was just a dark time. And what really helped me out was to set long-term planning. 5-year plans. We started setting like 10-year plans of where the business was going. And the thing is that when we had this vision in front of us, this plan in front of us, we felt that we could then be able to figure out the strategy in which to get there. And that really helped us to give us more motivation. We also took time to relax. We finally realized that we had to relax a little bit. We took weekly massages to just sort of remind ourselves that we're human beings and this is happening. It's just taking longer than it should, and we need to relax a little bit. Because I was having a lot of pain in my body, muscle pain, my neck and my shoulders, because of just sitting in front of the computer and doing the work, but also just stress itself was hitting my muscles, and everything was so tense. I started writing a mission statement for myself. I've been trying to follow through with that. I was very organized in terms of my daily schedule, what I would do every hour of the day to just keep myself on track. And I also started a very interesting method, which is a manifestation meditation, where I would spend 30 minutes of every day sort of just seeing myself, 10 years from now, and feeling what it felt like to have that success, to live that success that I would live 10 years from now, but I would live it every day through my meditation. And it worked like magic. I'm now 34 years old, and this company is considered a success now. We are making millions of dollars, and we are helping a lot of people through the sort of creation that we make in our candles. We help people to relax and calm down with the fragrances that we put in there, and we give a lot of our money, the income that we make, the profit that we've made, we give a lot of it to charity, and we're just having fun right now with our company. It had taken us 6 to 7 years to get where we are right now, but that's what it had to take. And somehow my dad is actually really proud of me right now. And I didn't even have to prove anything to him. He eventually just came around and saw that I was living my own success, my own life, my own path. I built a structure by myself for myself, and he's proud of that. So after having been through all of this, I now realize the karmic cycle that I was sort of going in a loop over. It all started because of my insecurity about my ability to achieve my own independence. Because it was imposed on me since I was younger that success must come from only certain limited avenues that the society expects. It was imposed on me that the values that were important within society were very limited. And so I couldn't find, my own independence within those limited values. Yet I felt I needed to prove to my father, to prove my independence and my success. So I overcompensated for that by striving to achieve in my job, in my career, without really considering my own true calling. And I would just do anything to achieve success, even if it is actually against my calling. And this creates high sensitivity and, being very self-conscious to the public's opinion. And this causes fear of failure because I'm focusing too much on the success that I'm going to get rather than the calling or the work that I have to put in, the process I have to put in to get the success. And because of that, it creates high sensitivity and being very self-conscious to my own to the public opinions. And this led me to sort of resist the climb. When I got promoted, I began to feel stuck, unlimited, and feeling behind. And even when I quit my job, that made me feel even more like I'm falling behind. There's sort of inertia that goes on, which then causes me to feel more insecure about my ability to achieve my independence, and the cycle just goes on. So in order to escape this cycle, I realized that I had to allow myself to spend time to be really, really honest about what my true calling in life is. And that's going to come from understanding my own inner values, not just external values. So it's more about quality over quantity. I had to focus on sharpening my values to reach the state of pure richness and quality, and follow that rather than just wanting to have the quantity, the success and the more success. And I had to understand that this is going to be a mountain to climb to get there, because if you're really following your own values with regards to what you want to contribute to the world, you're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna have to carve your own path, because nobody's calling is going to be the same. If you're just trying to pursue any random calling out there, which could be anyone else's calling as well, then that's going to be easy because somebody's already set the path for you. If it's really your calling, then it's going to be your path. So it's like in Spider-Man, I discovered that it's really resonated with my life when Peter Parker's uncle said, "With great power comes great responsibility." Once I have found the right mountain to climb, then I won't be resisting it, as opposed to if I found the wrong mountain to climb. And once I found the right path, the right mountain for myself, when climbing that mountain, I had to plan very strategically. I had to use foresight, planning, consistency, follow through, no shortcuts. But at the same time, I had to not beat myself up. So I had to find the balance of how much force I was going to exert and how much I was going to recede back. And I also learned that I should not be feeling guilty for not doing what my family had expected of me throughout all of this process. And that, so it's really about, ultimately, it's really about finding a challenge that is worth fighting for, a challenge that is worth the climb. I realized that true success is really about being seen in the world as someone who has integrity of the highest caliber. And this is going to lead to being a mastery of my chosen field, being a great, wise teacher that other people actually look up to, respect, and maybe even idolize. And that true success in the world is really about being seen as someone who has strength and has been through great personal growth.